welcome to Beyond the Bayou. We have wanted to do this podcast for a while now, and it's been a lot of trial and error, but I think we finally got it figured out. Um, this is a podcast about a bunch of unexplainable, weird things that happen in our world, be it ghost encounters or UFO sightings or Bigfoot or the Rougarou or whatever it is. This is the kind of thing we want to talk about here and
Mm.
hopefully try to explain everything through a biblical lens. Now, I don't know if we're going to be able to do that with everything, but we're going to try our best. So I'm here with my dad. My name is Jake Eves.
I'm Bruce Eves.
Welcome to the Bayou. That's how we can start these off. Yeah.
Cool.
Welcome to the Bayou.
Yep.
Anyway, we're the
We're not
Eves
on the
guys.
bayou actually, but that's
All right.
why we named it Beyond the Bayou.
Yeah,
Anyway.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Go ahead though. We're close
Anyway,
enough.
my name is Jake. Um, that's Bruce. He's my dad.
Howdy.
Yep. Hey. So, Dad, why don't you kind of explain what our goal with this is?
Yeah. Now, if you're tuning in expecting a bunch of spooky Southern ghost stories, and you're not totally off base. What this show does, it goes deeper than that, and we're also wanting people to not be embarrassed or ashamed to come talk to us if you want to be on the show. We're not judging anyone here at this show. I mean, if you've seen or experienced anything out of the ordinary, we want to hear from you. Um, we're not going to laugh at you. We want to hear again what you've experienced, and a lot of places a lot of people don't talk about it because if they feel that if they do, they're going to be labeled as nuts or strange or whatever. We want to hear your stories, right, Jake? I mean,
Yeah, I mean we've got plenty of weird stories of our own. You have a very interesting story.
a couple of them actually.
We'll get into it here in a minute, but your story is about a UFO sighting, right?
Well, that's what I think it was. It was something that was. I mean, it's not any. I'm not gonna say it was a flying saucer or whatever. I mean, it could have been an angel for all I know. I don't know because it happened at night, and so I couldn't. All I could see was just
We're getting into the story now, folks. Please
huh?
continue.
Oh well, no.
No,
Well, I'm
go
just kind
for
of
it.
giving a little
We're doing
intro to
this.
that, but I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and say that it was definitely a. Okay, that
Oh,
was weird.
that was
The
weird.
lights just blinked.
The lights just flickered. Woo.
Start talking about this stuff and the lights
And the weather
blink.
is perfectly clear and fine. Oh,
uh,
that's a bit
well,
spooky.
that's the way it is with our power company. I mean,
No, this
what
ain't the
was
power company.
yeah, what was funny, I'll get back on our story, but several years ago we had tornadoes and all that warnings popping all around Grand
Oh
Canyon,
yeah, it
and
was
the
a
lights
trip.
just flickered a little bit. We came home from church one day on a bright sunny day and we had no power.
Yeah,
So
of
anyway,
course,
that's
that's
just
how
the
it
way it
is.
is. The pleasures of living in the country. But anyway,
Living out in the sticks.
yeah, out in the boonies. But anyway, but no, like I said, this is of course before I was married, but I was on a date with a girl, and we went to a location what we call the fire tower around this area. It's no longer there, but they used to. If you're not familiar with what a fire tower is, I guess the forestry department had a guy up there who would monitor the area for any fires or
We
anything.
had one of
Then,
those.
huh?
We had one of those.
Oh yeah,
I didn't
yeah,
know we had one of those.
yeah. Sacred ground,
This
I'd
whole
say.
time, I thought you were
No,
talking about like a water tower.
no, no, no. It's about as tall as a water
So it
tower.
was a fire watch tower.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Oh,
we always just call it fire. It had steps going up to the very
I
top.
didn't know that.
Oh yeah, it's cool. But anyway, but yeah, we were up there. It was at night, and we went on our first date, and we didn't have much to do, so went to a movie. And then
That's how we kick it in the sticks, folks. We take them to the fire tower.
that's right, and we use bug lights for entertainment, but any
Oh Lord.
entertainment. But yeah, anyway, we saw this bright light, which I thought was a star, but. And again, like I said, it was at night, so I really couldn't tell you if it was a disc or anything like that. But we'll get into that in a little bit. We're just kind of doing a little introductory here as to some of the things. The other night, just what, a month or so ago, Jake?
Oh, you talking
We
about?
were, I kind of babysit my other son's dog. He works at night, and I was leaving his house one night and noticed a bright light in the west hemisphere area, whatever, and looked it up on my star chart, and it was Jupiter. Well, to the kind of a northwest position, I saw another bright light and looked it up, and no planet shone. And so the more I watched it, of course, I went on over to the house and told Jake about it, and he came out
Woke me
and
up.
yeah, woke him up. But it
Yeah, he
was
said,
it was
"Well,
worth it though.
it was. That's how
Yeah,
weird
it was
this was."
cool.
He said, "You have got to come see this."
And it was really odd. And I thought, well, satellite. Well, no, satellites are not stationary, and this was stationary. And the more we probably watched it, what, Jake, 5 minutes, and then all of a sudden the thing dropped.
Yeah, probably the brightest, the biggest
The
main
biggest part,
one.
yeah,
Yeah, definitely about 5 minutes, and then it just
kind of dropped
decided to
down.
change direction on us.
And then after that, some other weird things was happening. But again, we'll get into that.
Oh, we're already into it,
Well,
so
might as well.
we'll go on with it.
Yeah.
We were out there for about an hour and 45 minutes, and I had run inside to get my binoculars, and we were watching them. And at first, your first logical thought is, well, these are satellites. Well, apparently, I don't know. According to Google, you can only see so many satellites per night, and these things were everywhere. But they're coming from one specific spot
The mothership.
that we nicknamed the mothership
Yeah.
because it literally looked like in Star Wars when the X-wings or the TIE fighters would leave the big starships, how they would depart out from there. That's
But they were
exactly what it
smaller.
looked like.
They were
Oh
smaller,
yeah, they were
little.
significantly smaller.
And again, this is at night, so
Yeah, probably midnight, 11:45, something like that.
yeah, couldn't really tell quite how far it was from the house, but
But we would watch them, or I would watch them in my binoculars, and there was one or two times where two or three of them would leave together, and then one would be lagging behind. The other two would stop and wait, and as soon as that one caught up, they'd all proceed forward. Now they would
weird.
dissipate into the sky. Don't know what that was about.
Nope.
We theorized like a cloaking device or cloaking technology or something. If this was, you know, UFOs, if
Or
that's truly what it
UAP or
was.
whatever they call it,
UAPs,
whatever they call
UFOs,
it.
whatever
Yeah.
you want to call them, they're both the same thing.
But it was not. I mean, it was not a satellite, especially the brightest one. Again, we'll call it the mothership, which we're not for sure, and that's what it even was. But that's what we'll just for argument's sake. But it wasn't moving. It was stationary, and
No,
I
except
mean,
that one time that
except
it
that one
dropped
time when
down a
it
little bit.
dropped, and that
After
just
that,
was freaky.
it stayed in the same spot for
Yeah,
that entire time we were out there. So
we eventually went on in the house.
yeah, we
I
we
mean,
kind of got tired of watching them.
I don't know how long it stayed there, and again, what flipped us out were the little orbs or whatever, and they weren't very bright. I mean,
Yeah,
they
they were
weren't
the
near as bright
lights.
as the quote unquote mothership.
Oh, and I have
But
to add in the fact that there were no blinking green or
nope,
red lights. We
nope,
confirmed that with every
nope.
single one that we saw.
That's right.
So they were not
No,
planes, they were not helicopters. If they were human operated vessels, then they were highly classified new tech that doesn't need to have these green and red warning lights.
no sound.
Yeah, no sound either.
No
No.
sound at all. I mean, it was quiet that night, and it was a clear night, no clouds, and there again, it was just like Jake said. Once two or three of them departed from the mothership, um, within seconds they would just disappear, and then a few more would show up again, and they also would disappear. It just was,
And I also watched more than one make like
you know,
hard, sharp right
yeah,
turns
yeah,
or
yeah.
stop and shoot directly up above where they were originally
Hmm.
going. And satellites, they don't do that. Satellites simply follow the path of the Earth, right? They just, what is that called?
Rotation.
No, it's an orbit. They just orbit with the Earth. Sorry, Dad's got a bit of a cough,
Excuse
but
me, I had
that's
to
all right. It's no big
cough up a
deal.
lung.
But
Anyway,
anyway, satellites don't do that. They just orbit. And so this was very, very weird for us. Very cool. And I guess that can kind of lead us into why we started the podcast is because we've both really been into this stuff for a while, especially me. And I kind of I've been into it for a long time. I've got some stories, paranormal, weird, cryptid encounters. If that's what it was, I'm not sure. But anyway, I've been into this stuff for a while, and of course, my dad has his stories, and so he's been pretty much into it as well. And so we've always kind of wanted to start the podcast, but we didn't really know, you know, we didn't know what to do. We didn't know how to do it. We are literally jumping in head first. When, when neither one of us are tech savvy, neither one of us really know what we're doing. So we're just, you kind of just you gotta do it. You gotta just jump in and do it. So anyway, growing up, especially here in the South, in the Bible Belt, um, everything around here that is not explained away by the Bible is categorized as demons, right, Dad?
Hmm.
Like ghosts are demons, aliens are demons, UFOs are demons, everything's a demon. And I don't believe that to be true, and I never have believed it to be true, and I don't think Dad does either. But the sad thing is that, let me think about how I want to word this. Religion and the unexplained don't go hand in hand, especially with traditional Christians around here, Southern Baptists, mainly. As I said, like anything that's unexplained is explained to them by it's simply demons, and it's nothing else. It's all of the devil. And I don't believe that to be true. A lot of it, like there are demons out there. Obviously, I believe in demons.
Definitely. Yeah.
I've seen a demon exorcised on that trip in Honduras. Well, I didn't see it, but I heard it. They were talking about a demon being exorcised
Hmm.
on this mission trip we went on. But anyway, I know demons are real. However, I'm not going to use demons as an excuse to play off every weird or unexplainable thing that happens in the world. And around here, that's what happens. That's how they do it. So for us, we wanted to be able to take the weird things that happen to us and happen to other people, and we wanted to try to explain it through the Bible, but not calling everything demons. Because like I said, I don't believe it is. So the Bible itself is full of these weird supernatural just events and occurrences. You have giants in the Bible. You have Jesus ascending into heaven. You have Jesus himself, who is like, he's one of the most supernatural beings that's ever been on this earth. He was God incarnate, born as a man so he can die for our sins. And then he rose from the dead 3 days later. That's one of the most supernatural things ever. And there's proof. There is literal archaeological and historical proof of Jesus's not only crucifixion but resurrection as well. And so that's kind of why we started the podcast. We're big fans of Blurry Creatures, so we don't want to be copycats of them, but I'm not going to lie and sit here and say they didn't inspire this.
Right.
And I think it's good for more people to be talking about it.
Yeah.
And I think their podcast has really opened the eyes and ears of a lot of people.
Mm.
And it's helped me see the world in a different perspective because they've introduced me to people like Michael Heiser or Timothy Alberino, just all these people who have different takes. And when I read their books or I hear their messages, I'm like, oh, well, that explains a lot. You know, Dad, you got
Hmm. No, I
any
mean
opinion
just
on that?
a lot of things. And I've all me and you have the same
Yeah,
thing.
we both got the crud.
Believe me, we're not smokers. But anyway,
No,
maybe we need to start. Maybe they'll get rid of our cough.
right.
No, 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 seriously. But yeah, I mean, and I think there's also certain things in the Bible that are overlooked because they don't want to preach or
Yeah,
teach on it.
especially around here,
Because
right?
because there are certain things that's in the Bible that are kind of woo out there a little bit, and that I think that those are just kind of overlooked. And I'm not saying that's wrong, but I just feel like everything should be, looked at and talked about.
Yeah.
That's just like Enoch. The book of Enoch. It was not included in the Bible, and there's just because of some of the. I mean, if you've never read or looked at or listened to the Book of Enoch, whether on a you know YouTube or whatever, it is kind of out there, but
Hmm.
it's It's pretty much real close to, I guess, biblical truth, but
Yeah, I mean
it reaches out there a little bit further on some stuff,
it's
and
definitely it gets weird, but it does help explain a lot. It
mhm,
really explains the giants and the origin of demons
mhm.
and all that.
Yep,
So
yep. But yeah, that's kind of, that's kind of what we're about. And again, we're trying to just put it out there, and really would like to hear once we kind of get this up and going, we're going to have some guests on here telling about
yes, yep,
different things,
yep,
and
and
hopefully more will come forward, and like I said at the beginning, give us some experiences that you witnessed or whatever on certain things, and maybe they can be explained, maybe they can't. What else? What have you kind of your own personal experiences? What have you kind of experienced? I mean, even back in I know in your college days,
huh,
I
yeah,
mean, you've told some stories.
that was wild. Not for the typical college wild days either.
No,
And I went to a Christian college. That's the weird thing.
why is that weird?
Well, you know, the things I've seen in college, especially in a place that's supposed to be so, I guess I gotta walk on eggshells here. I don't want to
Yeah,
offend
yeah. Be
anybody.
careful.
I'm just kidding. I don't care. I went to East
He
Texas
graduated
Baptist.
now, so he doesn't care.
I went to East Texas Baptist University for 5 years. And this is a place that is historically rooted in Christianity, I will say. There was a time where they were very Christian, and I think a very good school to go to. But anyway, my time there, I had some weird experiences. Like my dorm room was literally right on a graveyard. I mean, it was right across the street from one. And there was one night where I was just, I was up late on, oh, I must have been working. I think I was working because I worked security there, and we had 12-hour shifts, day and night shifts. Well, anyway, I was on night shift. I think I had come in from work on my break. Of course, it's typical break, 1 hour. We can eat lunch or take a nap or do whatever we want. And I was napping and I'd woken up because I knew, well, my alarm had gone off. And so I'd woken up and was getting ready to go back to work. I'm just kind of chilling in bed, procrastinating, not wanting to go back to work. But all of a sudden I see this shadow dart across my room. Well, obviously, I'm the only one living in that dorm room at the time. I was a single person in a dorm room for 4 people, but I was the only one in there. And of course, there's no light coming through because it's nighttime. I thought, well, that was weird. So I sat there and I kind of watched it for a while, and then I kid you not, I don't have I told you this story before?
I don't think I heard this tale.
I had like 5 or 6 or 7 of these just shadow people is all I can think of, just in my room. They weren't talking, they weren't doing anything, but they were clear. I can see the shape of a body and a head and legs, and they were there, and it just felt like they were watching me for 30 minutes.
I'd been gone.
Yeah.
Forget
Well, I
this.
was so, and it wasn't sleep paralysis because I wasn't exactly paralyzed, but I was very fearful of whatever that was. And so I guess maybe that fear played into the fact that I stayed, but I just started praying. I had to. That's all I knew to do. And they went away, which is that was crazy. But they did. They went away. But that's one of my college stories. But
Many.
one of my other personal experiences, at least with the weird side, is recently I went on a trip to the North Sulphur River, which is in Texas. I went to fossil hunt and artifact hunt. Found a bunch of cool stuff. Anyway, my second night there, I was camping the whole time, and in a tent. I don't camp in an RV or nothing. So I was on my campsite. I was chilling by the fire, and I had just finished eating dinner, and so I was just winding down from the day, and I hear just this guttural, low growl. And at first, I think that's weird. Maybe it was I don't know, a mountain lion or a cougar, whatever they call them in Texas, but we have them here. We have big cats here, and that is
They're
not
not going to
that's
admit it, but
yeah.
yeah, we do.
But anyway, the cats they're a weird thing on their own. But anyway, this was not a cat. I've heard a cat before, and Then, whatever it was, it went from a howl into a roar, like just a long, kind of high pitch, kind of low. I don't know. It's weird. It was like a high pitch, but yet low kind of roar. And it lasted for probably 30 seconds. And that's when I was like, oh no, I don't know what this is. Bigfoot, Wendigo, Skinwalker. I don't know. I didn't really care. I got in my tent, I started praying, and I think I was just praying because that's all I knew to do. Because I mean, God's the highest form of protection, like if you ain't got nothing else, you got God. So
That's right.
I was praying and I looked up in the sky and I saw a shooting star. Now that could have been a coincidence, but I don't know because, there's stuff in the Bible about stars, and I'm trying to find this verse here.
It was didn't you say too that when you heard all of this that the woods kind of all went
Oh yeah,
dead
thank you.
silent? I
Yeah,
mean, no bugs, no chirping, no wind, just stillness, right? I mean,
yeah.
what was
Because
that
before
your
this, it was like, you heard the typical night sounds like,
right?
crickets
Crickets
and
and yeah,
whatnot. But yeah, as soon as that happened, there was nothing. Like there was this little armadillo he literally stayed in my campsite the whole weekend I was there.
scared.
And he did not move a muscle. I could hear him rustling around in the leaves behind me, but he did not move. That
It's
buddy
crazy.
he went perfectly still. No
Mm,
crickets, nothing. All I could hear was this roar and the crashing of the waves on the lake because there was like a little beach behind my tent. But anyway, after that, yeah, I was just looking up in the sky and praying, hoping whatever it was didn't come back. And I saw the shooting star, and like I said, I feel like that was a reminder from God because He knows all the stars by name. There's a verse in the Bible that says that. I cannot quote the actual book and chapter right now, but He does. He knows all the stars by name, and I think that was just a sign that everything's going to be all right. And conveniently, I never heard or saw anything else the rest of the weekend. I just went and found my fossils and went home. So that's my story with the quote unquote cryptid or what I
you're
assumed
sticking
to
to
be
it.
one. Yeah, I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, back on my little ordeal, like I said, it's been, I don't even know how long ago this was. Probably in the early, we moved up here from Baton Rouge. Probably, I graduated, I'm gonna tell my age now. I graduated in 78 and we probably moved up, I guess we moved up here around 79. So it was the early 80s and all that. Met this girl and I'm not gonna mention names, but anyway, you know how it is on the first date.
Oh yeah.
Well, what do you want to do now? You know, he's sitting there twiddling. Well, anyway, she didn't live very far. I mean, just actually right up the road from this fire tower. And so we climbed it. When I say climb, it actually had steps. But anyway, got up pretty much to the top and, we were just sitting up there kind of talking, kind of getting to know one another. And,
Okay,
um,
pause. This is the story you started with, but you're
yeah,
going
yeah,
more in
yeah,
detail?
yeah.
Okay,
A
thank you.
little bit more detail.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
kind
yeah,
of.
yeah.
But anyway, I didn't. Yeah, I knew everyone was just sitting on the edge of the seat waiting to hear this story. No, anyway. But anyway, no, we were kind of looking towards the west. Um, and we have another town here called Logansport, and they were right on the Sabine River, located on the Sabine River, and we were looking kind of that way at the lights. I mean, it was a dark, still night, not a cloud in the sky, a lot of stars and all that, and we just happened to look. And again, I don't know how far this was. I can't tell you how far away it was, but it was. I mentioned to her, I said, "Look at that bright star." I said, "That's a bright star, isn't it?" And she said, "It sure is." And we were standing there just kind of again looking at it. And I mean, no longer than we said that, probably within seconds, that thing just shot straight across the
Hmm.
sky. I mean, moving at a rate. I mean, it was just like,
Like unimaginable
yeah,
speed.
it was amazing.
Yeah.
And then again, I don't know how far it flew. I would say maybe a mile approximately, but it traveled that mile within less than 50 seconds. And when it stopped, it stopped. I mean, like on a dime. If you're not familiar with that, I mean, it stopped. It didn't slow down and
Like it
drift.
was nothing for it.
Yeah, it was like instant. And again, the light, it was bright. I could tell it was round by just the light, and it wasn't blinding. It wasn't a blinding light.
So how close were you to this thing, you think?
I just there again, I don't know. Probably it seemed to be more over toward Logansport area, so I would say a couple of miles,
Okay.
maybe. And again, I have no idea how big this thing was.
So it was a good distance away from you.
Yeah, but
But you still saw it pretty
oh
clearly though.
yeah, yeah. And the way it moved, and I looked at her and I said, "Did you just see what I saw?" She said, "I sure did." And so I said, and again, there was no sound. It just moved and it just stopped I mean, just instant. It didn't, like I said, it didn't slow down and then stop. But so we kept watching this thing. And then again, it sat there in that one spot just for a few seconds. And then all of a sudden it went straight up. I mean, at a speed that is just like, I mean, I've never seen anything and I'm not a military person, but I've never seen anything. It wasn't a helicopter. It wasn't a plane, a jet. It just moved and it was erratic. I mean, it zigzagged across the sky. That's about the best way I can put it. And every time it moved with it extreme speed.
Hmm.
And again,
Did you hear
and it
any
went,
kind of any noise,
no,
any vibrating?
nothing.
Nothing. It was
There was
just
nothing.
straight light and speed.
Yeah, no blinking, and there was no. They always said if it had blinking lights, that's some type of aircraft.
Right.
This had none of that. I mean, and then like I said, what amazed us was just the speed it went from point A to point B, and it wasn't like just a couple of yards. I mean, it would travel approximately a good mile or so.
So if you had to guess how fast it went from point A to point B, what would you say?
Oh goodness. I don't even know. I mean, I've seen jets fly um, in the sky. I've seen videos of them in attack positions, and it beat them hands
Dang.
down. I mean, I just again in the distance. I mean, it took them no time
Hmm.
to get from one spot to the next, and so we stood there and watched that. It never did approach us like as if it knew we were watching it. It never came close to us. It stayed kind of off in that general area. We probably watched it a good 30 minutes. And then it went back and almost looked like it almost went back to the same spot
Like it was docking back to a
that it
mothership.
started. Yeah, but I never did see I never did see another
Yeah, that was
light.
just a callback to the first story.
And then it went back relatively in the same area. And then next thing we knew, it went just straight up
Hmm.
and it was gone.
Just disappeared.
Yeah, it was just gone. I mean, but again, the speed was just, and I just don't think we should have anything like that in the military. And we might. I'm not going to say it was a UFO or, well, it was an unidentified flying object, so
Right.
it's
So
still,
technically it was a UFO.
but there was no sound. It's just the speed that it moved was just amazing. You
If
know,
we have something like that in the military, it's just because they took it from the extraterrestrials and made it our own.
but
Hmm.
yeah, so that's kind of what we're about. Um,
Hmm.
Anything else you want to add? I mean, oh well,
You got any questions for me
nah.
about my stories? Anything? We're
Well,
right at 30 minutes. We're doing good.
oh okay. We don't want to just bore people.
No,
So,
no.
but yeah, again, we want to get back. I want to get back. Well, I guess both of us want to definitely let people know. Please let us know of your experiences. We can Skype you or Zoom you or
Zoom, Zoom now.
something. You know,
No
if
Skype.
you don't want to come here,
Skype.
whatever they do nowadays. If you don't want to come here, we can get in touch with you on the phone. We can interview you then, and then because we definitely would. We'd like to hear some stories, and yeah,
I
we
mean,
don't
we're
want you to be embarrassed. I mean, again, if you haven't told anyone anything because you're embarrassed or you'll be called an idiot or nuts or whatever, we're not going to do that here. We want to hear what's going on, and see,
Yeah, I mean, listen, these stories that I have, and I can't tell a lot of people because they would just call me crazy and call me nuts, but I know the things I saw and I know the things I
that's right.
experienced and I've
Why would
heard.
you lie? I
Yeah,
mean, why, what reason do you have
I
to?
have no reason to lie about this
Neither do
stuff.
I. It's not like for popularity. I mean, that's why I haven't talked about it much. I'll tell it every now and then to some people.
Yeah.
If you or whatever say, well, you ought to hear Dad's UFO story or whatever, I'll tell it then. But I'm definitely not out to kind of gain any popularity with that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you what we've seen and what we experienced, and that's what we want.
Yeah, and again, I'm gonna shout the Blurry Boys out one more time, but it's because of them and their podcast that I felt like I could talk about my stuff. You know,
Hmm.
they made me realize that hey, there's a lot of people out there that do believe in this stuff that I've
Hmm.
experienced and that I've seen and that I've heard. And it's because of them. I mean, it really is that they're a big inspiration for this podcast. Like I said,
Right.
I said this earlier. I'm going to say it again. I do not want to copy them. I don't
Right.
want to be
Right.
a
We
Blurry
just
Creatures
tell our
copycat.
tales.
Yeah, we want to be our own thing, and that's
We want to hear
yeah,
yours.
yeah, exactly. We want to hear your stories as well. We want you to come in and be able to tell your stories without feeling like you're going to be judged for it. So,
That's right.
and like I said, I would like to explain away as much as I can with
Yep.
the Bible and
Yep.
with, God and all that. And if we can't, we can't, but we can at least try and help each other and help everybody together make sense of our stories and make sense of these things that we've seen and that we've heard.
Hmm.
Hopefully that's in a biblical way, but if not, then that's okay. We can at
That's
least
all you
still be
do.
here for each other
That's
to
right.
tell our stories and get the stories out there.
And we're definitely not here to preach to people. I mean,
Yeah,
we're not,
no.
we just, yeah,
If I include some Bible verses here
well,
and there,
sure.
it's just because they're relative to the story I'm telling and they're
Well,
relative to what we're talking about,
yeah,
you know.
we're going to need to get in touch with a few people that, we have some
Yeah, got some cool
interesting
stuff
topics that's
planned.
going to come up. Should we tell them or just kind of
Yeah,
wait? Leave
I
them
think
in,
we,
leave them in
yeah,
suspense.
we
Yeah.
leave them
But it
thinking.
does have something to do with dinosaurs, which
Yeah,
is pretty
yeah,
cool. Pretty
really
cool.
cool with the research
Yeah.
done and all that. But
Yeah.
next week's episode, I think, is going to be on a cryptid of our very own here in Louisiana.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, Brucey?
No, enlighten me.
The
The
Rougarou,
Rougarou.
the Rougarou,
Yeah. And that's the
also
thing. We
known
like to hear
as
more stories that's centrally located in Louisiana.
yeah.
I mean, we'll hear stuff from out of state.
Louisiana's a weird state,
Yeah.
man. I mean,
It's got some
New
history.
Orleans is haunted as it can be,
Oh,
and
well.
there's also stories of vampires in New Orleans. I
Hmm.
mean, that's a then you got voodoo, black magic down in New Orleans, and that's one of the original places of vampires in the U.S. was in New Orleans. So it's a weird state. We got a lot of weird stuff, but I think next week we're going to focus on let's do let's do the Rougarou and other weird things in Louisiana.
All right.
I think we can do that.
I think so.
I'm not sure on the timeline that episode 2 will release. We're going to have to figure all that out and figure out how long it'll take to record and edit and get these videos out. But I mean, these podcasts
Yeah,
out.
you
But
mentioned videos too. We are
yeah,
even looking into jumping off in that situation too, is to try to do some, what do they call it now? Video podcast
yeah,
or what?
yeah. That'll
Yeah,
be a while, but
that's gonna be very diverse. It's gonna be on pretty much the topics that we're talking about now, as well as we're gonna even maybe jump off into some cooking
oh, I
ideas
think
and experiences and
Brucey
hunting and
Brucey's talking
fishing.
about the YouTube channel that we
Yeah,
want to start
yeah,
called. Well, we're still working titles, but Life Beyond the
yeah.
Bayou.
Life beyond.
That'll show basically, life here in
Yeah,
Louisiana.
Yeah.
And we'll of course include videos of the podcast when we start videoing them, but
Yeah. Once we get
that's
our
still
feet more firmly planted in
yeah,
the
figure
ground.
this out
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what the podcast is about. So whoever tunes in and listens, thank you.
Yeah.
Those stories that we told, they are 100% our own. They weren't grabbed from Reddit. They weren't grabbed from the internet. This is stuff that I've lived, that I've seen, that I've been through. Same with my dad. These are genuine stories, and we just want to,
Unexplainable, but
yeah, but still genuine. They're our
still
own.
genuine.
And so we just want to invite anybody and everybody to come on here, tell your story, tell it through your perspective. We'll sit down, we'll have some questions, we'll have some answers,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Q&A.
Yeah, we'll Q&A it up in
Right.
here, and just we'll try to make sense of all the weirdness in this world. So anyway, I guess, we're sitting at about 40 minutes here, 36.
Wow. Time flies.
Sure does when
Hmm.
you're talking about fun stuff like this. But yeah, like I said, next episode we were originally just going to do the Rougarou, but I think we'll do the Rougarou and everything else weird in Louisiana. So
But
yeah,
we love our state.
yeah,
Go Tigers.
Louisiana's the
Yeah.
best, unequivocally the best state. We got the best food, we got
Mhm.
the best people.
Mhm.
Sorry, but
Yeah.
anyway,
It's just
thanks.
fact.
Huh?
It's just fact.
Yeah. We got any closing statements, Brucey, before we
No,
call it in here?
can't think of
Nothing.
anything right now. Just
Man.
looking forward to see where this adventure takes us.
Yeah,
And
hopefully we can build us a little community here and
yeah,
get us a few listeners involved. So
yeah. I mean, if you're gonna critique the show, that's great. It always helps to
oh yeah,
give
definitely.
some advice and all that. But please be nice. Please
Yeah.
be gentle.
We
We're
want
new.
constructive criticism, right?
Yeah,
We want you to
we want to have
be honest and
fun
be nice
and
about it.
want to have fun and hear about stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Because
Yeah.
we know our stories, but man, so many people have so many different stories. I think it would just be so much fun to hear other people's stories,
Yep.
hear about their weird world from their
Mhm.
perspective. So anyway, if you want to get in touch with me, I'm gonna link all the socials and everything in the show notes. Hopefully by the time I post this, I'll have a submission form set up. So if you want to submit a story for us to read, you'll be able to do that. Or if you get in contact with me, you email me, we can set up a Zoom call and you can tell your
Mhm.
story yourself.
Yep.
So, but
Sounds good.
yeah,
Been
so
cool.
I think we're gonna call it in here.
Yeah.
But thanks for listening. And like I said, be sure to keep watching and waiting for the next episode. It'll drop as soon as it can.
We'll
So,
try to notify everyone once we kind of get a definite kind of a set schedule,
yep.
as to when, you can expect these podcasts and
Yeah, hopefully once we get
we'll get
our
our,
feet on the
again,
ground
feet
more,
in the planted firmly in the ground.
yeah, we'll get all this scheduling and stuff figured out. But yeah, like I said, tune in for watch for the next episode. But until then, just keep your eyes open, everybody. Remember
Yeah.
that the world it's weird and not everything is as it seems.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I'm Jake,
I'm Bruce.
and this has been Beyond the Bayou.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thank y'all for listening.